You know, sleep seems so simple, right? You just close your eyes. But it turns out that whole 8-hour journey is actually a hotbed of bizarre, fascinating biological glitches. We're going to talk about all of them, from those weird little twitches to full-on waking nightmares. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with a classic. You know that feeling? You're just starting to drift off, everything is peaceful, and then bam, you get this sudden sensation that you're falling and your whole body jerks you awake. So what on earth is that?
Yep, that's it. It's your brain, plain and simple, having a little glitch. It's a perfect example of your brain and your body getting their wires crossed for a second. It's probably one of the most common sleep malfunctions out there, and it's a sure sign that that handoff from being awake to being asleep didn't go quite as smoothly as planned.
So let's put a name to that jolt. We're going to dive into the first, and maybe most relatable, glitch in your sleep's operating system. It's called a hypnic jerk. Here's what's happening. As you fall asleep, your muscles naturally start to relax, but sometimes your brain gets, well, a little paranoid. It misreads that relaxation as you falling from a great height. So, in a split-second panic, it sends this emergency signal to your arms and legs to, catch yourself. And get this, some scientists think it might be an old evolutionary reflex left over from when our ancestors slept in trees, and falling was a much bigger problem.
But what about when the glitch isn't just a quick jolt? What happens when it's a total roadblock and you can't get to sleep at all? This is that frustrating, maddening battle for rest, where your brain just refuses to clock out for the night.
And this leads to the dreaded insomnia feedback loop. It's a vicious cycle. You start to worry about not sleeping, that anxiety keeps your body on high alert, pumping out stress hormones, and of course that makes it impossible to fall asleep, which just makes you even more anxious about not sleeping. It's your ancient fight or flight system basically seeing not sleeping as a threat. It's a cruel, cruel trick.
And then there's this nightmare, nocturnal leg cramps. Just when you think you're about to drift off, a muscle, usually in your calf, just seizes up in absolute agony. And beyond the pain, it's that violent jolt back to reality that leaves you wide awake, just waiting and wondering if another one is on its way.
All right, so some glitches stop you from sleeping, but others, well, they unleash something else entirely. Now we're getting into the truly strange territory, where your body goes on autopilot, doing all sorts of things while your conscious mind is completely checked out.
This is probably the most famous one. Sleepwalking is the ultimate disconnect between your brain and your body. What happens is a part of your brain misfires and flips on your motor system, but it leaves your consciousness completely off. You're basically a pilotless vehicle, and the wild part is you won't remember a single second of it in the morning.
And we're not just talking about a quiet walk to the fridge. Oh no, people have done some incredibly complex things while totally asleep. Cooking full meals, completely rearranging their living room, sending bizarre emails, even driving cars. It's your body running on pure instinct, which is both fascinating and, let's be honest, a little bit terrifying. This table really captures another one of these autopilot glitches perfectly. It's called bruxism, or teeth grinding. So, you think you're resting deeply, in peaceful silence, ready to wake up refreshed, but what's actually happening is that you are slowly self-destructing, fracturing your fillings, and waking up with some serious jaw pain. It's a really sneaky, destructive little bug in your sleep software.
Okay, have you ever heard of this one? Catathrenia? It's not snoring. It's this long, low, moaning sound someone makes when they breathe out. The person doing it is fast asleep, totally unaware, but for anyone else in the room, it can sound like something straight out of a horror movie.
All right, deep breath. We are now heading into the twilight zone of sleep glitches, the ones that are genuinely terrifying, where the line between dream and reality just completely dissolves, trapping you in a waking nightmare.
So it starts simply enough. Your brain starts to come back online. You become conscious.
But there's a problem, a big one. The signal to turn your body back on, it never got sent. Your mind is awake and aware, but your body is still in lockdown.
And this is sleep paralysis. See, during REM sleep, that's your deep dream state. Your brain paralyzes your body. It's a safety feature, so you don't physically act out your dreams. It's brilliant, really. But the glitch happens when your brain wakes up, but forgets to flip that paralysis switch back off. So you're awake, you're aware, but you can't move a muscle.
And that quote right there captures the feeling perfectly. It is literally like someone unplugged your controller. You can see why, for centuries, people came up with stories about demons or monsters holding them down. But the reality
is just a simple, terrifying glitch in your brain's startup sequence.
And if you thought that was weird, how about this one? Exploding head syndrome. Imagine being woken up by an incredibly loud noise, like a gunshot or a cymbal crash, that happens entirely inside your own head. It's completely painless, but absolutely terrifying. It's just a massive, sudden misfire of the sound processing neurons in your brain.
You know, not all sleep glitches are loud or scary. Some are much more subtle. They're like stealthy assassins, just silently draining your energy night after night, often without you ever realizing they're even there.
This is the absolute perfect analogy for what's called fragmented sleep. You might be in bed for a full 8 hours, but because your sleep keeps getting interrupted, you never actually sink into those deep, restorative stages. It's just like plugging your phone in all night, but waking up to find it's only at 10% battery.
And one of the most serious causes of this is sleep apnea. This is a condition where you actually stop breathing in your sleep. Your airway collapses, and your brain, sensing danger, has to jolt you awake just enough to take a breath. You almost never remember these little awakenings. But this terrifying cycle can happen hundreds of times a night, wrecking your sleep quality and putting a huge, dangerous strain on your heart.
So for some people, these glitches aren't just a weird thing that happens now and then. They are a constant, defining feature of their entire relationship with sleep.
Take hypersomnia, for instance. People with this can sleep for 10, 12, even 15 hours a night and still wake up feeling completely exhausted. It's like their brain has a broken fuel gauge for sleep. It doesn't matter how much rest they pump in, the needle always stays on empty. They're just stuck in a permanent low-power mode.
So from the just plain weird to the genuinely terrifying, it's pretty clear that sleep is way more complex and fragile than we give it credit for. It's this nightly tightrope walk where the system can have some really, truly beautifully broken glitches. And it all leaves you with one big question, right? What in the world is your body getting up to after you turn out the lights?